could you tell me where this is? Yeah, it looks like an ordinary building, but this is actually the Los Angeles Convention Center, and once a year, a bunch of gamers rent out this place. Well, they didn't exactly look like this. They looked more like this. We didn't have designer clothing. This was before Marshmallow and Fortnite. And when you combine gamers and the Los Angeles Convention Center, you get E3. E3 was a magical event where gaming companies would gather together and promote their video game. And as a kid, this was like Marvel and DC crossing over. Like, you would never expect these guys to interact, but they did. And so these companies would rent out a huge space where they get to showcase all of their games and even allow people to play early demos of these games to try out themselves and see if they like it before they pre-order. And us as consumers and gamers, if we find that these games are not to our liking, we get to go to another spot where another gaming company would show their unreleased games too. So it was magical. And they also had these huge press conferences, which I'll get to later. But right now in 2025, E3 no longer exists. What the fuck happened? What happened to E3? This video is not all about what happened in E3. What I want to talk about was what happened 10 years ago. Yeah, I couldn't find any good memes, I'm not gonna lie. So 10 years ago, E3 was held right around this area on the map, and I was all the way over here. I was really far away. I was 13 hours away. Well, Kevin, if you're such a big fan of E3 in 2015, why couldn't you go to E3? Well, because I was a minor, right? I had so much fun making this, by the way. I was a little kid, still attending school. I had no money, okay? It's $1,000 for a flight from the Philippines to LA, okay? How was I so engaged with E3 back then? There was this magical entity in my iPad called YouTube, right? And I can't believe I don't need to spoon feed this to you guys, but anyways, let's just keep going. Yeah, this physical event in the Los Angeles Convention Center, I was kind of there because they would post these full press conferences to everyone that had access to the internet. And once a year, my phone would have all these notifications. When you go through my FYP, we didn't call it an FYP back then, we just called it the homepage, but in the homepage, there would be a lot of these videos coming up, and I was so inclined to watch every single one of them because each company was trying to one-up each other, right? And not just these big three companies. These are the big three because obviously PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. But as a kid, I didn't have any money to, really care about new consoles or anything. I really cared about these game production companies because all I really cared about were the games. And my favorite one is actually left out of this one. My favorite gaming company at the time was Ubisoft. Ubisoft isn't necessarily the worst gaming company. EA is probably still the greediest, slimiest gaming company you could work for. And you can see how poorly Ubisoft is looking right now. You're fighting a losing battle if you're trying to defend Ubisoft right now. But Ubisoft was something else 10 years ago. E3 is always a very special moment for the entire gaming community because we all come together to share our visions. There were a lot of people that genuinely supported Ubisoft, including me. Well, I was a little kid. I didn't know better. But take a look at this. So in June 16, 2015, when the press conference came out in E3, this was where Ubisoft was, 15.67 euro. Nothing too sporadic in their market value. Even though things were going pretty financially stable for Ubisoft in 2015, they had so many issues. Ubisoft was being threatened of being taken over by Vivendi, which they eventually did get over in 2018. Assassin's Creed Unity was a huge problem. For context, Assassin's Creed before Unity, if you had Assassin's Creed in the title, gamers would treat it with the fullest respect it deserved because Assassin's Creed was cherished in the gaming community at the time. They just kept pumping consistently good games. When this game came out, Assassin's Creed Unity, as much as it looked amazing, and in fact a lot of people were really excited about this game because they were promising a lot of things, the French Revolution, high quality gameplay, really fun fighting mechanics, and after all the marketing and after all of the hype, when it finally came out, we got this. It's fucking horrific. There were so many bugs, so many issues, and Ubisoft just handled it really, really poorly. By the way, these screenshots, they're father and son, and honestly, they kind of nailed it. Hey, nobody would doubt that. Side note, when I actually played this game, when it came out, it didn't look anything like this. Ubisoft did apologize to everyone about the bugs in Assassin's Creed Unity because, oh my god, so many people lost faith in Assassin's Creed after this. This was a very intense year for Ubisoft, and yeah, so Ubisoft took E3's scheduled press conference as a way to simmer down the fire. Huge PR move for Ubisoft. They addressed the issue head on, they didn't shy away from it, and they apologized to all of the fans in the biggest gaming event of the year, and I feel like they handled it really well. I mean, I was 12, I didn't really care much about PR, but anyway, it just, all I really cared about was fucking South Park, but anyway. The host of the event was Aisha Tyler.
Jacob Fry from AC Syndicate.
Right. That's
Look insanely hot.
Oh god.
Do you have a meme you wanna pitch?
oh,
Guys with rickets are super hot?
well, if you're talking Picard, it will be engage.
Okay, good. We did that together. All right. Standing next to me right...
Is right. Fuck, that was so hard to watch. And yeah, after the whole Ubisoft press conference, I loved Ubisoft so much, I even made a freaking video about Ubisoft, glazing them. I glazed them a lot in this video, but... So at the end of the press conference, there were 3 games that I was most hyped about. And these are Rainbow Six Siege, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and For Honor. I was not a big fan of Rainbow Six Siege, I was not a big fan of For Honor. I was a huge fan of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I had so much fun with that game. I was really tired of multiplayer at the time. If we're measuring success, this is what it objectively looked like, okay? I'm gonna break this down for you guys. So, there's no fucking question, Rainbow Six Siege is still the most popular game, but I will say that it did gain popularity way after it first released. Like, I'm not gonna lie, in 2018, I thought it died, and then somebody was like, yo, you wanna play Siege? And I'm like, Siege? What's Siege? Wait, Rainbow Six Siege? The game I pre-ordered 3 years ago? Today, there are 3.8 thousand people still watching Rainbow Six Siege on Twitch, and there are these guys who are making huge amounts of money playing Rainbow Six Siege. Esports teams that are investing so much money into getting into the Rainbow Six Siege esports scene. And I'm really happy for them because Ubisoft could really use this win. And the game that I had the most fun with, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, it was kind of doomed to fail. I mean, like, a lot of people were really hoping Assassin's Creed Unity would be really good. A lot of people lost respect for Ubisoft after Unity, but in my opinion, I still thought that Assassin's Creed Unity was a really good game because it was well designed, I quite liked the music, I just loved the overall feel to it, but mostly because it had a lot of new features. One of the features that was announced in E3 and was super hyped up about was being able to get around the city with horses. It was super cool. It was very new to Assassin's Creed because up until that point, you can only really either walk, run, jump, climb, teleport, ride a boat, but riding horses is a really cool thing. And on top of that, you also had the ability to assemble a gang. You can go up to NPCs, recruit them, and make them join your gang. And also you get to play as either the brother or the sister. Both equally badass in my opinion. And look at their outfits, dude. These outfits are so badass. But despite all these features, a lot of people just really didn't like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. A lot of people didn't give it a chance because if the Assassin's Creed game does well financially, it would kind of support Ubisoft's idea of, we did something right with this game, we gotta bring it to the next one, which more often than not is a bad thing because gaming companies for some reason are just really bad at telling what gamers really want. And so this is what Assassin's Creed Syndicate looked like. These were the 2 games that came before Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and then these were the games that came after Syndicate. Completely branched out, whole different look, whole different vibe. Like, dude, like, look at the Spartan dude. Like, he doesn't even look anything like an assassin. Dude, your muscles are showing. Like, someone fucking put some clothes on him, I don't know. But yeah, after Origins, I pretty much stopped. I bought every single Assassin's Creed before that. I played Origins, I didn't finish it. I just can't be bothered. Like, it just doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed, man, I'm sorry. And lastly, the game that I was most hyped for was For Honor, which came out almost 2 years after E3. It was fucking, oh my god, I waited so long for this game. I pre-ordered it like half a year before it came out, probably, if I remember correctly. I don't know. And yeah, this came out right before my birthday, so this was kind of like an early birthday gift for me. Oh man, no, they gave me something else too. They gave me some really cool merch. It held strong for a really long time. There were no copies of For Honor. It's like a one-of-a-kind kind of game. Like, no other game has been able to replicate the combat system of For Honor or done it well. And I really wanted to like this game, but it's just so hard. And they did a really good job hyping this game up 2 years before it came out. Oh my god, sorry, that's like the third or fourth time I probably said it, but yeah, it's fucking, oh my god. I was really frustrated with this game. So going back to E3, there were a lot of surprise appearances, but the most notable ones, in my opinion, were Matt Stone and Trey Parker, who were the creators of South Park, because this was the year that they announced South Park: The Fractured Butthole, which is like, if you go and look at Ubisoft's press conference, this was the most replayed part of the entire live stream. This was probably the peak of the guest appearances, and then we got Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo came out of nowhere to promote Just Dance 2016. And I really love this comment that I found. When fucking Jason Derulo walks out on stage and starts singing and dancing, I have to imagine they have no idea what the fuck gamers want. And dude, I was just happy. Even when I was 12 years old, I could tell that this was so out of place. He was a really big name at the time. Now he's kind of just, I don't know. Are there even Jason Derulo fans in 2025? I have no clue, but he was hot shit back then. Speaking of relevancy, if you search for E3 in 2015, you'd find only the video game press conferences, news articles of these gaming companies, and, you know, like rumors, you know, ooh, what's Sony gonna announce, you know? Now, if you search for E3, you'd be looking at something like this. I just find it so funny how 10 years ago, you'd find Jason Derulo promotes Just Dance 2016 to Iran submits nuclear roadmap to Trump. That's pretty crazy, the difference in 10 years. So yeah, people loved the Ubisoft press conference. They completely redeemed themselves. Absolutely fucking mind-blowing E3, which really goes to show that Ubisoft really outdone themselves PR-wise. The upcoming games look like something that gamers really want. The future was looking really bright for Ubisoft, right? So if E3 had the power to kind of heal the public image of these gaming companies, well, why is E3 no longer with us? So essentially what happened was these three big gaming companies in 2021, they essentially backed out. They have no interest in going back to E3. What is E3 without PlayStation, without Xbox, without Nintendo? Like, they're essentially nothing. It really took a hit on their reputation as the biggest gaming event of the year, and nobody's gonna go. Like, let's be real. As much as there's so much passion, if you have the big players of your event not show up after showing up for, I don't know, like 20 years, it's time to call it quits, right? And why do these companies not want to attend E3? Well, it's very obvious. This is what it looked like 10 years ago. They essentially cut out the middleman. They figured they could just post their own press conferences, make their own announcements on their YouTube channels and not have to pay this huge fee. Yeah, it's just cheaper to do it in-house, you know. We have State of Play, Nintendo Direct, Xbox Game Showcase, and you're still kind of getting the same results by announcing it and posting it yourself. And what's the point of announcements if they're just gonna be leaked online anyway? You're essentially saving your biggest announcements for one day a year, and you still have to pay the event organizers these huge fees. And even if you manage to hide these big announcements until that huge day in E3, if the gamers don't care about it, it's just kind of a waste of money. And it just doesn't make a huge amount of sense as a gaming company to participate in E3 when you could just post these trailers whenever you want. So with E3 gone, there are a bunch of events now that try to fill the void that E3 left. You know, like the biggest one would be the Summer Game Fest. They're here to fill the vacuum left by E3, and it returns in June, which is also around the same time E3 is held in the LA Convention Center. But another huge gaming event that also kind of fills in the void would be the Game Awards, but it's not necessarily the same, you know, it does kind of feel a little exclusive. However, if you're still a huge fan of E3, there were talks about holding another gaming event. And so yeah, I just wanted to make this video to reminisce and feel a little nostalgic, because Ubisoft's press conference in E3 10 years ago, even though it seemed like a really small thing and people might laugh about it, this really did kind of dictate what games I'd be playing in the next couple of years, right? And these games were a huge part of my childhood. This was the first time I've ever actually anticipated something, you know, once a year. And so yeah, if you missed E3, or if you think I left anything really important out of this video, please leave a like, comment down below. I'd really like to hear. You know, I also really wanted to revisit some cringy moments about E3, but I wanted to keep this video mostly about the 2015 press conference. But yeah, all the cringy moments are all over the internet. You guys can just go take a look whenever you guys want. Anyway, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.